Hi, good evening, everyone. First of all, congratulations for having cleared through a tougher stage of mains. I think by this time, by virtue of you clearing the mains, it is safely assumed that you're good with knowledge. Now, for APPSC, TSPSC, or any other PSC and UPSC exams, after clearing mains, you need to take the interpersonality test and you need to excel. Your mains marks and personal test marks are being taken up for the final ranking or merit. So now, personality test has been a tough nut to crack for many of the aspirants, even though they're really good with their knowledge and information, data. They're not really good in putting across what needs to be put across in each manner. So I try to orient you guys and also try to give an outline of how to approach the personality test, where there will be 5 members, including a chairperson rather, will be sitting across the table trying to assess you with your personality traits and come to a conclusion whether you are good enough to be a public servant or not. That is why it has been, first of all, you need to understand it's not an interview. It's not an interview. It is carefully and consciously rechristened as personality test. The more you delve into this line of understanding of assessment, and the more clarity you get of why this has been changed into this, only then you'll be closer to your goal of scoring really good marks in your personality. I would like to see it in this manner. Developing a good personality, communication abilities, poise, emotional intelligence, confidence, assertiveness are not just needed to clear this exam. If you can cultivate those traits, you can be a stand apart public servant or civil servant when you get into the services. So I see this as foundational important. If you want to choose civil services as a career, then they will, apart from them seeing you through the process, they'll also help you post the process when the actual game starts. So what does this personality test entail? Personality test is nothing but assessment of your personality traits. For example, you see various professions. You see a doctor, you see an engineer, you see an IT professional, you see a farmer, and you see an executive, a chief executive officer, you see a manager, you see a banking person, you see a postman, you see a lot of professions, you see a lawyer. And every person needs to have an aptitude that suits to their profession or their duty. Similarly, even civil servants need to have an aptitude that entails certain traits which will make them more suitable for public service. So, this is a lot about aptitude. So, what does this aptitude entail? Aptitude means your suitability. So, public service is part of statecraft, and civil services is part of public service. So, various public services, including civil services, are in this constant dynamic equation with the statecraft to how you're going to be part of the process of crafting this state, this democratic state of India. Once we decided post independence to be one country, despite having 500 plus princely states and a lot of territory under erstwhile British India, we have come up with a constitution that has been crafted out of various good ideals and values and good practices and good institutions across the world at that point in time. So they have sat for good 2.5, 3 years and came up with a very good, suitable constitution for the country. So I would feel that all your answers should be reflecting the constitutional values, ethos, and also reflect the socio-economic, political, and cultural fabric of the country. You just cannot say some things which would reflect your own personal inclinations. Your personal inclinations should always be in line with the ethos of this country, the ethos and values of our constitution. So you'll be abiding by the constitution, you understand them, and try to lace those values in your answers and come across as a person who is compassionate, empathetic, and is having greater interest to serve public along the lines of the constitution and law. So all these traits put together you call aptitude. For example, they'll see empathy and compassion in you. They'll see alertness. They'll see inquisitiveness. They'll see your abilities to communicate. They'll see your leadership abilities. They'll say your public service ideals, public service values or ideals. They'll also see your problem solving abilities. Problem solving abilities, conflict handling, balance of opinion, women empowerment, this is very important because most of the UPSC chairpersons and members would really gauge you on this aspect. So it's all the way good to identify the importance of women empowerment and also include that in your thinking process and also in your answers. Courage. Courage and conviction. Realism. For example, there can be questions like, there can be hypothetical questions, rather, questions filled with moral dilemmas. For example, you have a very good, honest, hardworking clerk or a person in your office who has been really good and honest in his disposition of work, but of late, past 8 to 10 months, he has been little irregular and has become addict of alcohol, and he's not actually delivering. You try to counsel him, he's not happening. One day he did something very big, a mistake, huge mistake, and the case comes to you. What do you do? According to the rules, he needs to be removed or major proceedings needs to be initiated against him. So what will you do? So it's not as plain as, it cannot be as plain as, sir, I'll just remove him. I will take he has his family is not doing that great, and he has a girl who needs to be taken care of, girl child, and 2 boys who are not yet settled, and things like that, regular family problems. Now this is the person who has handled the family and also his office very well for a really long time. Now past few months there has been some issue. So how are you going to handle? You just cannot say, an AI generated robotic response that according to these rules, these sections, sub rules, I am going to fire this guy, or I'm going to institute major penalty proceedings against him. Or you can say that it's a choice. Rather, I would say that you can take a personalized approach, an empathetic approach. Understand what happened. When a guy is performing well for the past 25 odd years, suddenly he's losing track somewhere. there should be something. You can get to the roots of that problem, understand, counsel him, take support of seniors, his colleagues, his good friends, and his family members, relatives, and help him out, and then get him back to the work and give him a punishment which is not major, maybe minor, because we can take into account his previous work history. So this is my answer. You can have your own answer, but it has to be personalized and empathetic. You just cannot apply rules blindly. If blind rules need to be applied, there need not be an exam that tries to test these many qualities and traits in a person. Rules are sacrosanct. They have to be applied. It has to be an extremely strict application of rules, but the ifs and buts come into picture. But look at the person, the circumstances, and his record of service, then your step might change. So it needs to be a balance of all the circumstances, where there should not be any negative signal going to others in the office, where this person has got away with all his wrongdoings despite having committed a huge or grave mistake. So it has to be a balance. There should be some punishment, proportionate punishment, but also an empathetic view and an opportunity need to be given for him to get corrected. So that's when people will get confidence on their officers and on the system, because to err is human. We all err as humans. We are not robots, or we are not machines to go without any mistakes in life. We err, but we learn from the mistakes. We have to cultivate that culture. We have to build such systems and institutions where people are given room to do mistakes, and also an opportunity to get corrected from the mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and grow and contribute to the organization. We have to craft things like a family. Only then, it becomes a lively institution. The bureaucracy becomes a lively institution to grow and contribute. So this is one way of understanding things. You can have your own approach. This is what I want to say, where there is a balanced answer. So these are the various traits when we talk about aptitude with respect to the personality test. Also, the personality test, people think that personality test questions can be prepared beforehand and we can direct the interview. I don't know, many people would suggest that, but I would not suggest that personally, because you constantly need to have that thing at the back of your mind, if I'm directing the interviewer or not. You lose originality. Rather, sometimes, sometimes you would lose track of your answer in the thought of directing the interviewer. Why should you really direct the interviewer? You get into the line of the interviewer, answer him straight, him or her, straight. They'll be impressed. You don't need to direct them, take them here, there. There will be areas which are uncharted. You cannot master all the areas. No one is expected to master all the areas. What they are doing there is not an interview. What they are doing is personality test. So when you don't know, it's not about knowing or not knowing. It's about your attitude when knowing, and your attitude when you don't know things. When you don't know things, how you're responding and how you're admitting it honestly and saying, sir or ma'am, I don't know this. That matters more than trying to come up with some forged answers or made up answers which people would really dislike. So it's a really red flag personality trait for anyone. Even in real life, would you really like a friend who always lies or tries to make up things, even if he or she is not clear about things which they are speaking about? You're not really. So similarly, you being recruited for such a high level post and such an important post, as I told, in the statecraft, you don't know at which point of time and space what kind of issue will be handled by you. That is the reason state through UPSC is taking all precautions to get those people, with that crafted aptitude, and then we train them again for 20 to 24 months. Then we'll releasing them into the system, again train them, then give them responsible positions. All this is being done by keeping the best interest of the public in mind. Nothing can be compromised. So you have to understand that process and Go ahead. So you don't need to direct, and you don't need to have a tailor-made answers for everything. Have a broad framework for answers. If most important question, why civil services? It's a very, very personalized question, and the answer should also be very personalized and honest. Short, crisp, personalized, honest answer. That's it. If it's not giving you great edge, let us not have a sharp downfall through that answer or through that question. That's what we are going to aim for. So have there's very after working so much of time, why you have wasted a lot of years of time preparing for the civil services. Don't you think that human resources is getting wasted? These are all very common and cliched questions that aspirants do come across in their personality tests. There's nothing wrong in trying for something. Abraham Lincoln tried several times to become president. He started as a cobbler, and he became the president of United States at the later stages of his life. The entire thing was a struggle. He never thought that his human resource is being wasted. So there are perceptions. Perceptions are extremely relative. Realities are different. So you can point here is you can get examples like this, then quote them, answer them confidently, honestly, they'll take it. Personality is very different. You cannot match a personality. You cannot charter a personality with these kind of traits. It's very individualistic. What we try to do, for example, if I'm talking to you for the next 7 days, what I'm trying to do is try to give you the basic rules where you cannot go wrong. What are the points? What are the bounds? You cannot go wrong. For example, sir, UCC should come up. There cannot be differences. So that is a very hard statement. If you're trying to say that UCC should be there, you should have a very balanced, multi-stakeholder approach-based argument. So that needs to be tailor-made. You just cannot say, blindly and very rudely or crudely, it should be there. It should be there. If it should be there, why? If it should not be there, again, why? How women rights can be balanced? How women empowerment can be balanced? So you'll have to take into account all these aspects, then come into, answering the questions of various interview members. So one more aspect is having the courage. If you want to say something, just say it. But before saying it there, try to tell or try to say the same statement, the same answer multiple times before that particular event in your mock interviews or in your interview debates and discussions, to yourself or to your mentor or to your friends or family, or if you have a brother or sister who's guiding you, to them. So first talk all these things beforehand. Try to assess yourself. Try to see if this answer is matching up or not. Then if you're comfortable and confident, then yes, I can speak this. Then you can go to the interview hall, interview room, personality test room, and you can speak whatever you wanted to speak with the same kind of assertiveness and confidence. Always have clarity of thought. Clarity of thought will give you courage and conviction. So if you don't have clarity of thought, if you have double standards, if you don't know what is right or what is wrong, then it will be very tough for you to actually, factor in the aspects of courage and conviction. When it is not there, it is glaringly visible. I'm telling you, it is like a white elephant in the room. It's quite visible. You cannot hide it. So this is one thing. So always have a clarity of thought. Be abreast with all the latest developments. Have your own view towards them, towards the development. For example, Meitei Kuki violence in Manipur. Try to have an overall view on Meitei Kuki violence. You have to get into tribal history, cultural history, and pre-independent history of Meiteis and Kukis, and the cultures there, customs there, why there has been a motley of cultures in Northeast India, why they still exist despite India being welded into a single nation, why this much of cultural diversity happening, which is a good thing. What are the reasons for it? Cultural diversity, when interacting in a stable atmosphere where there are no law and order issues, where there is no public order issues or disturbances, then it is a very good arrangement. But when this is getting disturbed, then cultural diversity needs to be addressed, where the diversity will again come into a state of equilibrium and peace. So you'll have to try to tackle such questions at that level. Get little deeper into the issue. Get spread your net a little wider, and then factor in all these aspects. Then prepare yourself with an answer. Then try to practice those answers in mock interviews, and finally in the final personal test room. That's how you're going to refine your answers. You just cannot refine your answers just like that by speaking a few times, 2 or 3 times, and then directly getting to the personal test. No, I don't think that's how it is going to happen. And APPSC personality test and UPSC personality test are not very different, because person is the same, job role is almost the same, maybe at a different level. So you having courageous way of speaking and assertive speaking with politeness. One more important thing which I need to mention here is politeness. If you have everything but lack this, believe me, it's a waste. No one would appreciate a person who is not polite. If you are a very effective IAS or IPS or DSP or an SDM or any other service officer, but lacking politeness towards public, doesn't make any sense. I don't think you're a good officer. First contact, people should feel comfortable and respected, and they should feel the sensitivity in you as an officer. Then they'll come to you. That will be gauged in your interview or the personality test room. If you don't have that, you just don't get it just like that. You'll have to craft it. If you're not, you have to first identify if you're having the politeness or not. If you're not polite enough, then you have to rework yourself towards that level of politeness, and then speak. There are some bodily etiquettes which you'll have to follow. So yeah, politeness, you have to work yourself into a person who is very polite, and redo yourself. So you do as many mock interviews as possible, as much as possible. You just go talk to people, talk to yourself in the brain, write, think, keep thinking, and keep practicing. Be slow in expression, slow as in an optimum speed of expression, clarity in thought and word, and compassion and empathy, solution oriented, forward looking, passion filled answers. You just cannot sit with straight face, without a smile, without any passion. It's like a conversation. Personality test is always a conversation. It's a conversation. It's not something where they'll ask questions, you'll answer. Again, they'll ask questions, you'll answer. No. You're doing that, but while you're doing that, you're actually building a conversation. You're building a tempo in the room for the next 40-45 minutes. And that tempo would guide that interview. And that tempo would set the mark base for your interview, for each round of questions. Slowly you'll ascend. Everything will start with basic introduction. Then, someone will come with some random question, which can be very tough sometimes or very easy sometimes. Even very tough questions straight away are opportunities to prove your mettle. But very easy questions they look very easy on the face of it. Anyone can answer, but the way you answer, okay, you have your own palette and canvas. You can answer a very simple question in a very effective and in a very different way than others, which will catch the imagination of, or rather the public service imagination of the board members sitting down there. So that's how you prepare yourself. Try to speak differently. Try to speak, with that unique feature. Try to speak with a flair. Develop language competence. Language competence. You develop it. Without language competence, you cannot express. It's like going to a fight without actually knowing, battle tactics and techniques. You cannot. It's like equipping yourself for the battle. So language always helps you. Don't think that language is being overrated. No, it is not. Language is always underrated. More clarity. You look at great leaders. You look, at Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India. He's good with his language. Ex-VP, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, he's very good with his language. All good leaders are great orators. That means they're getting connected with the people. You are also, as discussed earlier, part of the agency which is part of statecraft. You'll have, apart from having your own superiors, colleagues, and subordinates, public are your clientele. You'll have to interact with them. If you're into service like an IAS or IPS, the frequency of you interacting with people is all the way higher, and different kinds of people will come across. Some will sometimes, things are not very comfortable and amiable. Sometimes tougher conversations come in. So if you are a person who doesn't have that kind of poise while speaking, doesn't have linguistic diversity, is a little limited in communication, then you will have tough time. That is the reason why you are being evaluated well in advance in PT on language front. So language is extremely important. When you speak language, you match that with your emotions, with your face expressions. You speak, it's like an effective communication. If it's a conversation, then that conversation should be between very intelligent, informed, experienced board members, and again same intelligent, informed, courageous, passionate aspirant who's sitting on the other side of the table. So courage and passion are some things which need to be, showed when an aspirant sits for personality test. So language competence is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Language competence also includes vocab, that is vocabulary. So without these, it's not easy. How you space, how you use your diction, what is your pronunciation, what is the repertoire of your words. So, repertoire, TOIRE. What is the repertoire of your words? Matters a lot. It makes a lot of difference. Don't think that language is, being overrated. No, it is not. I'm emphasizing time and again, it actually helps, because look at the randomness of personality test circumstances. There will be 7 to 8 chairmen, or rather chairpersons, who will be heading at different points of time in the day, periods of time in the day, at on different dates, with different sets of people. In all this mess or randomness, you going there and scoring higher marks needs a lot of preparation, and hitting or ticking all the ground rules and basic rules. So this is one of those basic rules. You just cannot do some magic and then become someone who is really good with your language, or having a huge repertoire of your vocab. No, that doesn't happen overnight. If you're starting now, at least try to recollect whatever vocab you have and try to use them. Sometimes you might be knowing the vocab but not using them. So try to use them. Balance it out. Try to generate good answers, vocab rich answers, information rich answers, opinion rich answers, and public service value laden answers, balanced answers, solution oriented answers. So for all these things, language is important. If you're not good with language, then whatever things you have in your mind, it's like reading a great book, understanding it, getting into various perspectives of that book, but not being able to communicate about the book to others. It's totally analogous to that. So be good with your language competence. Just speak it. If you don't have much of the vocab, then don't mind. Try to use whatever vocab you have in as effective manner as possible. Mirror practice. Mirror practice or mobile video recording. Mirror practice, you directly see, look at you and then speak. That might affect your focus. You can keep a mobile, imagine a question. So imagine that question and start speaking as if you're speaking in front of someone. So that will give you an edge, or rather an opportunity to assess yourself, to how you're speaking, what are your what are your expressions, how cool you are, how expressive you are, how passionate you are you smiling or not. So everything, smile as in a light smile, with confidence you'll get a smile on your face. So all these things are being factored in or not. So that will be a good exercise for self correction. If people, especially for those people who will get not so good feedback in mock interviews, they can include these two and then correct themselves. Over a period of time there will definitely be some change or necessary change that is needed. With that you'll come to a confident level where you can go and face the interview board or the personality test board. Try to give individualized answers. Things should be individualized. It cannot be something that is being told by someone in a coaching institute, or maybe myself. I cannot tell you what answers need to be told. We can tell you what answers should never be told. That is one thing we can tell you. If at all we want to tell you, we can give the bounds of answers, and we can also give the patterns of answers. Believe in yourself, because you already cleared 2 steps in this examination, be it APPSC or UPSC, and believe in yourself, and you are the person who has been filtered out, because you've put those efforts, you've transformed yourself as a person through the knowledge and through the efforts, that you have been filtered out into a different league of personality test. Now you're being evaluated there. So believe in yourself that you have information and knowledge. What you need to develop right now or show to the personality board is your personality traits. Somewhere we lose the ethos of constitution by getting lost in in the chaos of communities, family predispositions, biases with friends, or our personal experiences. We get lost in all those chaos. Clear your head, and clear the chaos. Clear your head. Believe. Be optimistic. Believe in people. Not everyone is good. Even we ourselves are not good. No one can be the best. So, if you try to work at that personal level, your mind will get cleared. Once your mind will get cleared, it starts building on the ground rules. When it starts building on the ground rules, your answers are automatic. They will be optimistic, positive, solution-oriented, unbiased. So try to have such individualized answers. They should feel that, yes, this particular guy or girl has given this answer out of their own thought. This is not some parroted answer from some institution. So have that in your mind. Have individualized answers. Keep speaking. Keep speaking. Speak a lot. Talk. Keep talking. That eases you out. Talk on a lot of things. Mock interviews. Do as many mock interviews as possible. Space them out. Don't do 2 mock interviews every day. When you're doing 2 mock interviews every day, you don't even have time for self-reflection. When you're doing mock interviews, you're going through a process, you're identifying and understanding your shortcomings. There you take a comma, a pause, reflect on yourself, get deeper, then work on yourself, get back to another mock interview, so that mock interview 1 and mock interview 2 needs to have some difference in your personality on the positive front. You just cannot, get into a barrage of mock interviews where, you're not actually improving, but just mundanely getting into the room and talking something, whatever you feel like. No, that's not the idea. That's not the idea of why we, talk about mock interviews. You have to have that optimum spacing so that you introspect and self-reflect, then come out with improvements, then get into the next interview, then give better answers. That's how the process. It should always be like a step. If you keep giving interviews, it's like this. You're just there. You're not climbing. Take some time, climb a step. For every mock interview, you need to climb some steps and keep moving forward. So that should be the aim of the mock interviews. Also, some mock interviewers will give a lot of extreme views. Some people will try to drive through their views towards the aspirants and tell them to tell the same answers. So you need to be little wary. I would totally suggest to go against that, because I believe in the abilities of individuals. I believe if a person will sit down, put efforts, I believe that you are able individuals. You went through the system, you are able. That's the reason why you have crossed that mains hurdle. So there is no question about your abilities. It's about your aptitude and your attitude towards the service and to various issues that go on. Individualized, personalized, what you as a person, is thinking, and how you are thinking, and how you are going to solve these solutions or these problems. So I don't think you can remember whatever a person told you in a mock interview and go give that parrot answer. I don't think it's possible. Maybe randomly once in a while you can do that. So that is okay, that is acceptable, but majority should be out of your own thought process, your own personality. For that you need to develop a personality. You just don't need to do patchwork. You craft yourself. You slowly become that person. If I'm talking about women empowerment, I need to feel the need for women empowerment. I need to feel the actual injustice that has been meted out to women as a gender, based on gender, women as a group based on gender, and I need to feel that down to my veins to talk passionately about it. I just cannot tell, sir, we need gender budgeting, we need gender balance, we need a lot of women in the office, and we need to shatter the ceiling effect, glass ceiling effect and stuff like that. No, I mean, you can say that, but with passion. That passion comes out of a good personality. You feel it, then speak it, you see the difference. You yourself can see the difference when you record it by yourself. It feels so natural and original. When it feels so natural and original, I'm telling you, you are going to be in that top percentile of the personality test marks. You'll get 99 percentile or 98 percentile of, for example, if 200 is the mark, you can cross the 200. Top 3, 4, 5 marking positions you can land yourself into. So be confident. Don't think that top 5 interview marks is only for the select few. It is only for the select few because those select few have always crafted themselves or directed themselves into such a zone where they show up their original, where they have developed that personality and also showing up their original personality without any fear. If you can do that, anyone can get good marks. That 40-45 minute game is the most important thing when it comes to personality test. Data. Data to support your answers. Data to support your answers. I just cannot say that India will be a $5 trillion economy by 2025. How am I saying that? When I'm saying that, I need to talk about the current GDP, and I need to talk about the current GDP trend. I need to talk about national infrastructure pipeline. I need to talk about the value appreciation or depreciation against other currencies, FDIs and their potential, projected potential. I have to talk about so many other things: unemployment rate, reduction of inflation rate, and interest rates, the trend, availability of liquidity, cutting down on black money, channeling all the money into investments, investment friendly atmosphere in the country, so many other factors. When I have those factors and when I have the data with respect to those factors at my command, then I can confidently substantiate my claim for India being a $5 trillion economy by 2025. Other than that, my answer is hollow. Anyone can say anything out of thin air. That's not how a well-prepared aspirant going for a personality test speak. When I talk that I support UCC, to what extent I'm supporting it? Am I supporting it blanket, or am I supporting it on issue basis? For example, I'll support it on issue basis. I'll support it through the issue of gender equality, gender empowerment. Women cannot be treated as unequals. Women can head families. Women can take control of their lives. Women can, inherit ancestral properties. Women cannot be divorced through a 3-word divorce statement. So things like these, because it is about, family is a commitment. When you are just divorcing some person just on 3 words, the entire family that has been built, or with all due respect to the particular religion, the entire family that has been built, the human rights, security, safety, mental peace, and future of the kids, everything is at stake. So things like that cannot be, accepted in civilized world, because we move forward. We are into humanistic way of understanding, a state. We are not, into divinism now. We crossed the divinism stage. Now we are into humanism. Humans at the center of thinking. So I take up UCC concept in that manner, and I try to come up with something that stays in the center as a code, and rest of the things will be, holding on to this code, and they can stay at their own, in their own shape. But if something is in conflict with this particular code on these particular well-defined lines, then the code will prevail. Otherwise, Hindu Muslim law, personal Muslim law, or tribal Muslim law, tribal personal law, everything will prevail until unless they don't come in conflict with the accepted UCC. So that's how. Try to think of your personalized answers. So yeah. So I think with this, we are done with a 1-hour session of orientation of how to go about an interview, what are the common myths, and what are the common doubts, and how you can help yourself, and how you can take inputs through this process and through this lecture. We'll be interacting with you possibly on Zoom sessions in the coming 6 days, 1 hour each. Then we can have an interactive session. You can ask doubts. I'll try to come up with my clarifications and my inputs, so that we both can work as a team and try to get into that zone of personality and communication and expression, where your chance of getting marks in the personal test will steadily increase. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.